Hi, it's Miss Pretzel at the Appleton West Library, and I am book talking a non-fiction book, Almost Astronauts, 13 Women Who Dared to Dream. And the author is Tanya Lee Stone. So, this is what's interesting about history, is there are usually women and other diverse people of color, who've done things in history, but the history books haven't talked about them, and now we're getting so many books talking about people who did things years ago. So this book, Almost Astronauts, 13 Women Who Dared to Dream, is about the beginning of the United States space program. So NASA was created. It was kind of this Cold War. We were fighting in what was called a Cold War against Russia, and we were going to be the first to space because the Russians put Sputnik into space first, and that kind of got Americans like, no, we're going to be first. So Mercury was this first set of missions before, and then there was Gemini, and then Apollo. So, because we couldn't just go to the moon and back, we had to do some learning first. So Mercury was the first program that NASA did. And as most of us know, like, man, all the astronauts for a really long time were all male and all white. But what very few people know is that there are 13 women who trained to be part of the Mercury program. It's just the fact that I think it becomes clear throughout the book that NASA really never intended to let these women do it. These women proved that they could. These women they were flying airplanes and doing all these things, and they showed that they could do it. And one of the things, it's just neat to learn about history and learn about these things that you've never heard of before in history. And some of the great period photography that's in here, like the time, this is all happening before I was born, and when my parents, some of it was when my parents were in high school. But like I said, these 13 women were training just like the men were training, and they really believed that they were going to be allowed to go do this, and yet, and despite, that it didn't happen, these women went on to do great things. And what they did led to the fact that we now have women in space, and women who can be fighter pilots and all these other things. So I just think it's awesome to learn about these things in history that, yes, women were doing great things, and people of color were doing great things throughout history. It's just that our history books haven't really focused on these different aspects. So this is just, I read this book a number of years ago, and it's always stuck with me. So I decided I would share it with you. So once again, it's called Almost Astronauts, 13 Women Who Dared to Dream, because that's what they did. And Tanya Lee Stone is the author. And I hope you might come and check this out or another nonfiction book. I will help you find what you want. Or if you want a fiction book, that too, because it's my job to keep everybody reading.